Hello everyone. In this video series, we will understand what is a computer program. Then we will learn some JavaScript syntax and we will also do object modeling using JavaScript. Finally, we will build a small program to form sentences from a JavaScript object. First, let's understand what is a computer program. In simple words, a computer program is nothing but instructions to our computer to do some task. Think of a program like a cooking recipe. If you have teach someone to make a cup of tea, your instruction would be, boil a cup of water, add some tea and add some sugar, right? Similarly, if I want to instruct my computer to calculate user input, my instruction would be, display a prompt and get user input. Evaluate result. And print the result. If I translate these instructions to JavaScript, it would be, user input equals prompt. Result equals eval user input. Document.write.ln result. Do not worry about the code. I don't expect you to understand the code. All I want to show you how we translate these instructions to code and how the program looks. Now, let's write some code. I am going to use jseditor.com as my code editor. jseditor.com is an online code editor where you can write and test your JavaScript code. You can use any code editor of your choice. Some of the popular online code editors are jsfiddle.net, jsbin.com and codepen.io. I am going to disable autorun. Let me also click on the Zen mode. Let's say, I want to instruct my computer to print, hi. If I translate this instruction to JavaScript code, it will be document.write.ln, hi. If I run this code, as you can see it prints, hi, on my browser. First line in this program is a comment. In JavaScript, comments starts with double slash. When we run the program, comments are ignored. I put comments here, just for your understanding. If I delete the comments, program will still run as expected. Now, let's instruct my computer to evaluate 2 plus 3. If I translate this instruction to JavaScript, it would be eval 2 plus 3. If I run this code, as you can see, there is no difference in the output. That's because our code is asking computer to print, hi. Let's instruct our computer to print the result of 2 plus 3. Let's say result equals eval 2 plus 3. Let's also print the result, instead of, hi. Now, if I run the program, as you can see, it prints the result 5. Now, let's instruct our computer to get user input using a prompt. If I translate this instruction to JavaScript, it would be user input equals prompt. Let's now evaluate the user input instead of 2 plus 3. Let's run the program. As you can see, we get a prompt. Let's enter 2 divide 3 and click OK. As you can see, we get a result 0.6666. So, with just 3 lines of code, we are able to build an online calculator. Now, I can do any calculation here. Let's say, I want to calculate 15 divide 30 plus 55, as you can see it prints the result, 55.5 on the browser. Don't worry about the code. I don't expect you to understand all this code. All I wanted to show, how a program looks. And how we can translate simple English instructions to code. As you can see here, first line of my program instructing computer to get user input using a prompt. Second line asking computer to evaluate user input. Last line instructing computer to print the result. So each line of my program is an instruction to my computer. So, we just saw document.write.ln prints on the browser. If I have to write 2 lines about myself, I can say, my name is Tim and I am 32 years old. If another user, let's say, Joe has to say the same. He would say, my name is Joe and I am 34 years old. Let's put a line break. So, if I have to create this message for different users, all I need is some data, that is, name and age. Now, this data may come from a database or from another website or from another program over the wire. Also, it can be sent in any format, such as comma-separated values, XML, or any custom format. One of the popular format to send data over the web is JSON. Now, let's format this data to JSON. Here is our data. All key value pair data in JSON must be put inside a curly brackets. Let's put a curly brackets. If you are wondering what is key and value, in this example, name and age are keys. Tim and 32 are values. Basically, keys are property names, and values are property values. Also, all keys in JSON must be put inside double quotes. So, let's apply double quotes to both the keys. Also, text values must also be put inside double quotes. So let's apply double quotes for Tim. Finally, we need to put a comma as a separator between the keys. Let's click on the Format button to format the JSON. Our JSON is ready to use now. One of the reasons JSON is so popular, because we can use them as JavaScript object as it is, without making any changes. That's the reason it's called JSON, that is, JavaScript object notation. Let's copy the JSON and paste it in our program. Let's give it a variable name user. Let's delete last 2 lines of code. As I told you, JSON data is perfectly valid object for JavaScript. So here, we have a user object with 2 properties, name and age. If you are not sure what is an object, to put it simply, in programming, objects are data, plus, functions. We just saw data, we will see function shortly. Now that we have an object, let's use the value, Tim and 32, from the user object. For that, we have to use template literals. Template literals allows us to use variables inside a string. Template literals are strings placed inside backtick. So, let's remove the quotes and put backtick on the string. Now, let's replace Tim with user.name. And let's replace 32 with user.age. As you can see, to put a variable inside a string, we must use $curly brackets. Let me press enter, so that the entire code will be visible. Now, let's run the program. As you can see, it prints the message as expected. Now, if I change the user's name and age to Joe and 34, we see the message getting updated. In JSON, all property names must be placed inside double quotes, but in JavaScript objects, we don't have to. So you may remove double quotes from the property names. As you can see, it still runs fine. Now, let's see what is a function. We have already seen a few functions. For example, document.writeLn that we used is a function, which prints on the browser. In simple words, a function is a block of code that can do some task. A function can take input and may return output. Let's create a function. I am going to name it getMessage. Let's say, I want my function to take this user object as input and return this message text. Let's copy this message into our function and return it. Returns are nothing but output of a function. Let's set a parameter for this function. Parameters are nothing but input to our function. You can give any name to this parameter, as long as it has name and age property, it should work. So, here the getMessage function is taking an input, user, and returns this formatted string as an output. Now, let's call this function inside the document.writeLn. Let me run the program. As you can see, we get the output as expected. So, a function starts with a function keyword, then the function name. If there are any parameters, we specify within parentheses. If there are multiple parameters, it can be put comma separated. Body of the function should be inside a curly brackets. By body, I mean the block of code for the function. Now, let's say I want to add one more line to the output message. I have 2 kids, J, Ram. As you can see, there are 2 kids, there can also be more than 2 kids. In other words, it's a list. In JSON, a list of values can be presented by an array. As you can see, in JSON, an array can be created like this. It's a comma-separated list of values placed inside a square bracket. As I told you, JSON is a valid syntax in JavaScript. So, let's copy the array and paste it here. This double quotes is optional in JavaScript, so I am removing this. Here user object has a list, kids, having 2 items, J and Ram. First line of the output is already here. Let's add this as second line. We have to construct the string J, Ram from the kids array. Basically, we want to join the values inside the kids array with a comma. Array has an inbuilt function, join, which can do that. So let's write user.kids.join and we want a comma as the separator. Let's run the program. As you can see, the output is, my name is Joe. I am 34 years old. I have 2 kids J, Ram. Now, let's put a BR tag after each statement. Let's run the program. As you can see, it now prints in separate lines. Now, I want to update the message like this. I have 4 kids. J, Ram, Tim and Anna. Let's add Tim and Anna to the array. Here, I want J, Ram and Tim to be joined with a comma, and we will append, and Anna. Also, here I missed setting the number of kids last time. Basically, we need to display the number of items inside the kids array. Array has a length property, which gives us the number of items in an array. So, here we will write user.kids.length. Let's copy this message. Now, I will create a variable, kidsText, and paste the message here. The let keyword here allows the variable to be used only inside this function. It cannot be used outside of this function. Here, I want to display all items from the array, except the last one, and then join them with a comma. In other words, I need a part or slice of the array. Array has a slice function. Let's see how it works. As you can see, the array index starts with 0. So, the index of J is 0, the index of Ram is 1 and the index of Tim and Anna is 2 and 3. If we want the first 3 items, then we need to do slice 0, 3. So here I am saying that starts from index 0 and go up to index 2, without including index 3. In our case, we need a slice excluding the last item, so let's write user.kids.slice. I will start slicing from 0. To get the index of the last item, I can do kids.length -1. As you see here, Anna's index is 3, which is array length 4 -1. Optionally, you can also remove kids.length and just keep -1. Many JavaScript functions accept negative indexes, so keeping just -1 also works as expected. Finally, we need to append the last element Anna here. Let's write $user.kids.at -1. Now let's join with a comma. Let's also set the kids text in our output string. Now, let's run the program. Here is the output. Now, I want an output like this. I have 2 kids. Then, J 6 years. And Ram 8 years. Here, I want to show the name and ages of both the kids. For this, I have to create an object here. Let's copy this and paste here. Let's name it J. Age 6. Let's create one more object. Copy this and paste. Change the name to Ram and the age as 8 years. Let's copy this message. This line will remain the same, only the kids text will change. Let's delete this. For each kid in the array, I want to construct a message like this. I will write user.kids, and to get the name and age of every kid, I will use map function. Map function will take another function as a parameter. Let's call it getKidText. Now, I will create this function here. GetKidText. This function will take a kid object and will return a string. Here, instead of J, it will be kid's name. And kid's age instead of 6. Now, this map will call this function, and for each object, it will return a string. Now, let's join the string. We will write just join, because there is no separator here. Now, let's run the code. Here, by default it is using a comma to join, so let's put an empty string here, and also I will put a br tag here, to give a line break. Now let's run. And here is the expected output. If I put another kid here, and run the program, you can see 3 kids, and the name and age of every kid. Now, I want to display the spouse details. I want an output like this. My wife name is Tia. And she is 32 years old. For this, I will add another property named spouse. This will be an object having properties, name and age. So, here, instead of Joe, write Tia. Let's copy this and paste here. Here, Tia would be the user.spouse.name. Let's put a br here. And for the age, user.spouse.age. Now, let's run the program. Here is the output. Now, I want, if Joe is describing his family, it will show, my wife. And if Tia is describing, it will show, my husband. For this, let's add a Boolean property. Is male. If is male is true, it will show, my wife, and if false, it will show my husband. So, let's write Tia here. And Joe here. Now, here I will write if user is male, then show, my wife. Else, it has to be husband. Let's run the program. I made a mistake. Is male should be false here. Now, run the program. Here is the desired output. Here, we are calling getKidText function using map. Map function takes another function as its input. Here, instead of declaring a function like this, we can use an arrow function. Arrow functions have shorter syntax than regular functions. For example, here the getKidText function is taking kid as an input and returning this output. Using an arrow function here, we can do the same thing in a simple way. Here, we can write kid, that is our input, goes into, and then the return statement. Now, let's delete this function and run the code. As you can see, we got the same output using arrow function. Now, I want to change the message. Let's first copy this message and paste it here. Instead of writing J 6 years, Ram 8 years and Hari 10 years, I will write eldest kid Hari is 10 years. Next kid Ram is 8 years and youngest kid Jay is 6 years. And if there is another kid after the eldest one, I will write next kid Anna is 9 years. Let's add one more object here, set name as Anna and age as 9. Now, we have to rearrange all these according to their age, such that the eldest kid will be in first place, and the youngest one will be the last. Let's comment these first. Here, I am going to use sort function, user.kid.sort. When we sort something, we have to provide a compare function. Let's use an arrow function here. It will take 2 kids object as parameter, let's say, A and B, and since here we want to sort them in descending order, I will write b.age minus a.age. Let's change the name to sorted. So, this is my sorted array. Now, I am going to print a message like this. Let kidsText equals sorted.map. And here, I will put x for object and I for index. This index will be for each element starting from 0. Now, let's paste the statement we want to return. And then .join and put a br tag here. For the first element of sorted array, I want to print eldest here. For the last one it should be youngest and next for every middle kid. So, here I will write, if I is equals 0, that is for first element, print eldest. Else if I is equals to sorted.length. And let's put I plus 1 here, for the last element, then print youngest. And for other kids print next. Let's run the program. I forgot to put name and age, so let's do that first. This should be the kid name, that is x.name, and for age, it will be x.age. Now, let's run the program, and here is our desired output.